Strap into your seats and get ready. It's time for the Mortarpod.
Hey everybody, Alex Stephenson from SeemsGoodMagic.com here. Welcome to this week's episode of the Mortarpod. The Mortarpod is a weekly video podcast where I present to you custom magic sets based on movies, TV shows, video games, all sorts of different fiction stories. So this week, kind of an unusual movie, but it's a cult classic, and Rockstar Games actually made a sweet video game about it, which gave some more backstory, which was cool. But this week we're doing The Warriors. Now, The Warriors is a 1979 movie. It's about a bunch of different gangs. It's all about the gangs. And in this case, you would think, just gang members, stereotypically, just, wearing like jeans and a t-shirt and billy clubs and stuff like that, and swords and all sorts of weird weapons, knives and guns and stuff. But in this case, they're all like elaborately dressed. There's a ton of them. They all have their own reputations and stuff like that. And the main gang that you're following are the Warriors. And they're a really cool gang. And the story goes, they're going to the big city, to New York. And they're meeting up with all of the other gangs of the city, and one man named Cyrus is trying to unite all of the gangs to overrun the city and take out the police force. So it starts really cool. It's just the Warriors riding on a train into the city to meet with all the other gangs, and I'll explain the rest as we go on. So starting off, we have Cleon Warchief. So he starts off right in the beginning of the movie. You're introduced to the Warriors as they're riding the train into the city, and they're sort of giving some backstory about what they're doing. And Cleon is called Cleon Warchief, the card, because he's the Warchief of the Warriors. So he's the actual leader of the Warriors gang. So Cleon Warchief is 3 and 2 red. He's a 3/4 human warrior mythic. He has trample, and he has the mechanic for this set, which is called Gang Up. So Gang Up is tap another untapped creature you control. This creature gets +X+Y until end of turn, where X is that creature's power and Y is its toughness. Activate this ability only anytime you could cast a sorcery. So what's cool is you can basically just tap the rest of your dudes with Cleon and make them huge, and then get in with one dude as opposed to all of your little guys. And so you don't have to spread your damage out. You can consolidate it all together, and in this case, trample over top of people potentially. So Gang Up for me was like a little take on banding, but I wanted it to be less confusing than banding, and I think this one's a lot more simple. So you pretty much just have to tap a dude, and it makes this guy get pumped by that creature's power and toughness. So yes, 5 mana, 3/4, trample, Gang Up. I'm going to give some spoilers throughout this. I hope you don't mind. It's such an old movie now. But as they meet up with Cyrus and the other gangs, the Warriors get framed for murder, because Cyrus is actually killed during his speech to all the gangs. And the Warriors are framed. And Cleon, unfortunately, the leader of the Warriors, gets separated from the rest of his gang and is viciously beaten to death by the rest of Cyrus, the man who was murdered, the rest of his gang, which are called the Riffs. He's the leader of a gang called the Riffs, and its Riff is in, not like Rift, but RIFF is what the name of their gang is. So Cleon gets killed, which means the Warriors need a new war chief. So they escape from the speech area, but they have to make their way back to Coney Island, which is where they hail from. And they're a long way from home, and it's late at night, and all of the gangs of the city are looking for them because the Riffs want revenge for their killed leader. So the next war chief in line is named Swan. So the next card is Swan, new war chief, and he's 4 colorless and a red for a 2/4 legendary human warrior mythic creature. He also has gang up, and then he has other warrior creatures you control get +1/+0 and first strike. So Swan's a very good leader, very quiet, but he makes good strategic tactical decisions, and he's got a lot of balls. He's ready to fight. So I like Swan's character. He's very cool. He gets his character and personality traits get hashed out a lot more than Cleon's do, because unfortunately Cleon gets killed relatively early in the movie. Moving on. So now we can introduce you to a couple more of the warriors. I actually didn't make a card for every warrior because I felt like some of the warriors really didn't have too many personality traits or character traits to go off of. So I didn't even feel like there was enough to really make cards for them. But there are certainly some of the warriors that have more personality traits than others. So the next one is Ajax the Rugged Loner, and this is played by Michael Remar, and or is it James Remar? Sorry. So Ajax the Rugged Loner is 1 colorless, a black, and a red for a 3/3 rare human warrior. And whenever Ajax the Rugged Loner attacks alone, it gets +2/-1 and gains trample until end of turn. So he actually has black in his mana cost because Ajax is kind of a loose cannon of the warriors. He doesn't really listen to authority well. He's rambunctious. He always wants to fight. So he's more like a loner. He ends up separating himself from the warriors and eventually getting himself arrested. And then that just pretty much takes him out of the movie. But, I mean, he's a good fighter. He's a solid fighter. He just doesn't listen to authority well, which eventually costs him. Next, we've got Fox Warrior Scout. And this guy's a cool character. I read a little bit of the background to the movie, and apparently he was going to be the love interest for the girl in the movie that they throw in, who I also didn't make a card for, only because she didn't really... I could have probably made a card for her, but her character was... I didn't really like her character all that much. She seemed kind of just thrown in there just for the sake of having a love interest, more than like actually having an interesting character. But Fox Warrior Scout, he's a cool warrior. He's actually their information gatherer. He knows all of the intel on the other gangs. So I tried to have his card evoke that. Fox Warrior Scout is 2 colorless, a blue and a red for a 3/2 rare human warrior creature. Your opponents play with their hands revealed, and then he's got a activated ability of 4 and a blue. Look at the top card of target player's library. You may put that card into that player's graveyard. So what I like about this is it's almost like a fate seal. I figured because he's got information on their gang, he would be able to tactically help you fight against them just by information that he knows about them. So that was where I came up with the basically telepathy ability he's got, and also you can screw the top of their library. He unfortunately gets killed by a police officer by being tossed on the railroad tracks, or subway tracks rather. So kind of a vicious death. From what I heard, he was actually fired from the movie, and then they changed the script to accommodate his firing, and that's why he ends up getting killed on subway. So kind of interesting there. This movie was directed by Walter Hill, and if you don't know him, he's done a few movies actually, like Undisputed, Hard Times. He's a cool director. He also did Last Man Standing with Bruce Willis, which was also a very good film. I don't think it was high rated, but I enjoyed it. And he just does good beat-em-up movies. He's got a lot of fight scenes in this movie, which, if you're into those sort of things, I think you'll really enjoy. Really well-shot, cool fight scenes. You can tell the budget is low on the movie, so he really did a lot with a little, in my opinion. And the fact that Rockstar made a game out of this that was really fun and enjoyable, I'm really glad they did that. And I thought they really paid tribute well to this movie, because they not only adhered to the storyline that Walter Hill directed and presented, but they even supplied backstories. They got all of the original actors to do voice work again, which I just thought was wonderful. So I definitely recommend checking out The Warriors by Rockstar Games. Very well done. Moving on, we have Rembrandt the Vandal. So Rembrandt is their tag artist. He basically walks around with the spray can and writes W's everywhere to show that the Warriors have been there. So I definitely thought he should have a card. Rembrandt the Vandal is one colorless, a red and a white for a 2/2 legendary human warrior creature. And then he has the ability, creatures you control get +0/+1 for each tagged counter on lands you control. And then he's got an activated ability of 3 and a red and tap. Put a tagged counter on target land you control that doesn't have a tagged counter on it. So kind of a cool ability, actually. You can just, every turn for 4 mana, pump your dudes by just, basically putting the vandalism on the lands you control. And then all your guys get stronger for all the territory they own. I'm actually really happy with how he turned out. So he was cool. Next we have Cyrus, Uniter of Gangs. So like I mentioned earlier, Cyrus is the one that gathered all of the gangs together in one spot and gives a speech about how all the gangs, instead of fighting each other, should be working together for the glory of taking over New York. They should unite. He goes on to say, there's more of them than there are cops in the city, so why not unite? And then they'll figure out, they can dole out the territory after they've taken it over. Very excellent speaker. And his flavor text is, can you dig it? Can you dig it? Can you dig it? So what was cool about that is, during his speech, very 70s lingo, he's talking about can you dig it? And the crowd is definitely getting into it. He's a very awesome orator. So Cyrus, Uniter of Gangs, is 3 colorless, a blue, and a black for a 2/3 mythic human creature. And then his ability is, when Cyrus, Uniter of Gangs, dies, put 5 1/1 black soldier creature tokens with Death Touch named Vengeful Riff onto the battlefield. So you kill him, and then that player gets the rest of his gang to basically try and avenge his death. So they are just 1/1 soldier creature tokens, but they all have Death Touch, which I think actually makes him a pretty powerful card. So I like Cyrus, Uniter of Gangs. I'm happy with how he turned out. And here you can see on the left a Vengeful Riff token card that I made. Once Cyrus dies, these are the guys that they kind of flash to throughout the movie, and they're talking about their progress with pursuing the Warriors. The next card is Luther, the Rogue's Assassin. So this is the guy that actually kills Cyrus in the name of his gang. He's not even the leader of his gang, I don't believe. He's just, one of the higher up ranking dudes. But the name of his gang is the Rogues. So I made him a human rogue rare creature. He's a legend. And he is 2 colorless and 2 black for a 1/1 creature. Which 4 mana of 1/1, not that good. But he has an activated ability of 2 and 2 black, and then tap, destroy target legendary creature. Other creatures its controller controls get -1/-1 until end of turn. So he's a legend killer, which I thought was cool. And he's also the one that frames the Warriors. When as soon as Cyrus gets shot, Fox, who I mentioned earlier, because he's a great scout, actually notices that Luther is the one that killed Cyrus. And Luther also sees that Fox saw him kill Cyrus. So for fear of being, uncovered, Luther immediately makes sure that the Rifts hear that the Warriors did it. So he frames the Warriors. All of the gangs come together. They kill Cleon. And Luther is definitely the main antagonist of the story. He eventually gets his in the end when the Rifts figure out that he was actually the one responsible for killing Cyrus. So, but well played. Luther is very psychotic and crazy in the movie, and the most iconic scene in the movie, in my opinion, is at the end when he actually makes his way to Coney Island to challenge the Warriors on their home turf, and he has all these bottles on his hand, and he's clinking them together, and he's just psychotically saying, "Warriors, come out to play." So it's really creepy. And I made a card for that you'll see at the end. But Luther, well cast. He's just like a drug-crazed maniac. Very cool character. Next we have a gang police officer. So where there is gangs, there is, of course, police officers too. And the police officers are in the movie. They pursue the Warriors and other gangs throughout it. So gang police officer is 2 colorless, a white and a blue for a 2/3 human soldier creature. It's an uncommon. And you may choose not to untap Gang Police Officer during your untap step, and then it has an activated ability of a white and a blue tap. Tap target creature for as long as Gang Police Officer remains tapped. So kind of a good ability. You just pay your little mana, and he's a 2/3 body for 4, which isn't terrible. And on top of that, you can use his activated ability and tap down a creature for as long as he's tapped. So I kind of like it. I think he's a good card. Definitely limited playable. Next, we have the Furies Pursuer. So I could have spent a lot of time making various gang members, but to me, the Furies stand out as one of the most memorable ones from the movie. And they're all dressed in baseball attire. So, they're wearing the baseball jerseys, and they're wielding baseball bats, and they have weird face makeup on. And they're also human rogue creatures. So the Furies Pursuer is a 1 colorless and 2 black 3/1 uncommon human rogue creature. This one says it's a legend, but I think that's actually a mistake. I just wanted it to be a regular uncommon. When Furies Pursuer dies, put a colorless artifact equipment token named Baseball Bat onto the battlefield with equipped creature gets +1/+0, equip 1. So not a lot of cards that supply you with equipment tokens, but when they beat the Furies Pursuers, they do loot their baseball bats. So I definitely wanted the card to have that, and I thought it would be cool to have a guy that when he dies, he supplies you with a little. It's not a great equipment, but because equipment sticks around, it's certainly powerful. So good versatility and dual value of the Furies Pursuer, and then I made a actual baseball bat artifact token card. Equipped creature gets +1/+0. Not the best equipment, but considering it comes off of a creature, it's pretty good value, I think. Next, we have Coney Island. So the Warriors eventually, after fighting numerous gangs on the way back, finally get the subway back to Coney Island, and they get home. So Coney Island enters the battlefield tapped. It taps for a red or a blue mana, and then it also taps exile target warrior creature you control. And then it also has 3 and 2 red tap. Return all cards exiled with Coney Island to the battlefield under your control. So it's kind of a mashup between Safe Haven and just, the Volcanic Island type lands. So it's a dual land, which is good. It is legendary, so you can only have one out at a time. If one of your warrior creatures would die from like a removal spell or in combat without killing the opposing defending creature, or creature it's blocking, you can just exile your warrior creature and then eventually get it back. So I felt like Coney Island is actually a pretty powerful card. It definitely requires you to be playing a warrior build to get the full value, but it turns out all of the warrior creatures are, the main guild, the warriors. So yeah, I like Coney Island. I think that's a powerful card. Safe Haven was a cool card. I wanted a better version of it, essentially. And finally, we have the Come Out to Play card. Like I was talking about earlier, he's got the bottles on the hand, if you look at the picture. And you can see his mouth and his eyes. He looks crazy. And he's talking about, Warriors, come out to play. I would just go to YouTube, look up Warriors Come Out to Play, and you can see how crazy that scene is, because it's absolutely crazy. So it's 2 colorless, 2 red. It's an instant. It's an uncommon. Creatures target opponent controls must attack or block this turn if able. So since he's calling out the Warriors on their home turf, they are forced to come out and fight against him. Then it ends on a sandy beach. Luther, being the dirty fighter that he is, pulls out a gun, and he's going to just shoot him. But the Rifts come out there, and they beat him to death. So it does have a good ending. The Warriors end up making peace with the Rifts, and they get to live out their days on Coney Island, their wonderful beach land. So very cool movie. I definitely recommend checking out The Warriors from 1979. Awesome movie. And check out the Rockstar game, The Warriors. I really think you'll dig that, especially if you like Rockstar games. I mean, all the GTA series, very awesome games. And Manhunt, that was the one I was a big fan of, actually. But yes, hope you enjoyed that. Make sure you check out SeemsGoodMagic.com. I have all of the custom magic sets up on the site now. You can also go to Travelers of Storia. From there, I have a link set up so you can see my board games website. And feel free to contact me. Click on the Contact tab. And I've updated my email address. I'm using a different one now. So just go to SeemsGoodMagic.com, click on the contact tab and feel free to message me, and I'll write you back. I apologize if you wrote me previously and I didn't write back. It's because I had to get rid of my old email. It was just getting way too much spam mail, and it was getting too difficult to find people's emails from the spam. So, yes, thanks for tuning in, and enjoy the videos until Fate Reforged comes out. So we'll see you next week.